Hello everyone, it's Nick here. Welcome back to the channel. If you've been watching the last 2 weeks, here's a nice roundup of what's been going on so far. We've had a look at the Commodore Amiga games, revisited series of games I've done earlier on, so they'll go for a certain amount of time, and then we'll probably do PlayStation 3, the Mega Drive collection, which I've had for a little while and been meaning to do. But before we come to the top 6, as always, let's see what pinball games we've been looking at on the Zen Pinball 2 on the PlayStation 4 by Zen Studios. The first one was A-Force. All these are based on the Marvel comics, published by Zen Studios in 2016. A-Force is a table which features Black Widow, who looks quite nice on the eye, and Madame Mask, who I don't know too much about, but essentially they were wrestling over some sort of reality cube. It's Hydra versus the Avengers here. They dropped the cube in their squabble, it's landed on New York or America, and now they've been plunged into a Soviet Union controlled reality. Yeah, if you're from Russia, I don't know why they picked on you. I like countries all equally, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's a hark back to the Cold War based on the old comics. It's not a bad little table. You've got certain missions to do. It's well put together. There's a helicopter that flies around as well that looks absolutely fantastic. Two tables in this pack, A-Force and Champions, which we'll come to in a moment. But it's a good table. Some of these lesser characters I don't know too much about. I know Black Widow, of course, but She-Hulk have got a bit of an inkling too. But as the game goes on, you're supposed to unlock more and more players. So really good, that one. And the second table, again from Zen Studios in 2016, was Champions, where, in my opinion, it's still a good table, not quite as good as A-Force. So if I was going to buy the pack, it'll be for A-Force. This one's slightly more cartoony, and the main character is Miss Marvel, who I didn't know too much about, not to be confused with Miss Marple, that old one that solves mysteries in those Agatha Christie's novels. But Miss Marvel, she's well, she doesn't do too much on a grand scale. She's got stretchy arms and legs, but basically a female criminal named Bombshell, has done a bank robbery and also stolen the takings of her coffee shop. So instead of saving the world, Miss Marvel has to, well, stop Bombshell by doing various things. Games plays quite well. There's a lot of animation there, and you make progress quite quickly on it. So two good tables that I can certainly recommend. A time recording, the Pinball Arcade Season 6 has just come out on the PlayStation 4, so we'll probably do another two tables of Zen Pinball 2, then we'll go over to Season 6. And Pinball Arcade, of course, are based on real-life tables rather than fantasy tables, so it's always good seeing a combination of the two and how they differ. Again as well, I did review a PlayStation 4 game before we come to the top 6. I've decided not to include PlayStation 4 games in the top 6 roundup because it's a bit unfair comparing games that come out maybe a year ago with games that come out 30 years ago. I can do it on all the retro systems, Game Boy Advance, Commodore Amiga and Spectrum, because you can compare the eras. Modern day ones were a bit too close to the era to make a true comparison, and they'd come first every time. So it was Kick-Off Revival, which I've been meaning to review for quite some time, although that is a retro game. There was quite a few bad reviews about this, and I don't know why. I'm a big fan of Kick-Off 2 at the time. It's all written by Dino Dini. The original Kick-Off is 1989. This is a revival, come out in 2016. It's a revamped work. You have to be a bit more skillful than the original game, so it pays to learn the tutorials. It took me about 2 games of this to actually score my first goal, which was about a monumental event, and I can tell there by playing it, if you put the time in, you can get more and more rewarded. There's an online feature, which I haven't quite tried yet, but it was a good game. Much better than I thought it was going to be. What's good about this game is it only cost me about £10. And Dino Dini is continuously working on it, bringing improvements. It's quite approachable over Twitter and Twitch as well. Gets a lot of stick unnecessarily, which are quite a lot of programmers working on their own do tend to do really unfairly when maybe they got other agendas. But overall, this was a good game. I wasn't disappointed. Prefer Kick-Off 2 at the moment, but it's closely going to overtake it because there's so much more to do on this game. Dribbling is a skill. There's lots of tutorials, as I said. Put in the time, and this is good. So I scored this game 11 out of 10. I really liked Kick-Off Revival. Now, the top 6. Hooray! In 6th place this time. Oh, actually, there's no, that leaves 7 games. There's one game that didn't make the top 6. It's one where, if it had a different name, it would have done a bit better. But Bomb Jack 2, ZX Spectrum, Elite Systems 1987, the original come out in 1986. Now I really liked reviewing the original Bomb Jack. It's better than the Amiga version, which I was quite surprised. The speed of it is quite good. You had to jump round, get some bombs in the original, and it played really well. The second one a different style of gameplay where you can advance by stabbing people, and it's all about timings, and he doesn't float. It doesn't work, in my opinion. Some people in the comment section liked it. Compared to the original, it just fades into nothing. Maybe if you play it more, you can get rewarded. But apparently, when this game came out, I don't know, the makers knew it's going to get a bit of stick. They included the original game on the B side of the tape as well. And for me, that speaks volumes. Just giving yourself a safety margin if the whole thing bombs. So, Bomb Jack 2, Elite Systems, 1987. There's something a bit missing. It's not easy to see what you got to collect, and the whole idea's gone. Anyway, now, top 6, what did make it? In 6th place, just squeezing in this time, it was close between this and Bomb Jack 2. Pinball Power on the ZX Spectrum 48K, published by Mastertronic in 1989. Now, pinball's always going to be tricky on the Spectrum, or any 8-bit system, because you've got to try and represent ball physics. You can't expect it to be 100% accurate. It's a nice attractive table. I prefer Advanced Pinball Simulator, but you can say graphically this one is a bit more clever because the table's leaning slightly back. Bit of colour bleed, sometimes the ball turns yellow or white depending on what graphics it's next to. But I only put this in 6th place because it's a little bit uninspiring and the game crashed while I was reviewing it. It's okay, it's a solid pinball game, but at the same time it's nothing special, and sometimes the ball goes really, really fast for no reason, which takes a ricochet off part of the table. Pinball Power, Mastertronic. In 5th place, another ZX Spectrum game and another sequel, Paperboy 2 by Mindscape International in 1992. I really liked the original Paperboy game on the ZX Spectrum, although that wasn't perfect, with very dodgy collision detection, and it was a bit monochrome just with blue and black. But you was closer to the action on this one, and I think it played a bit better. Paperboy 2 never come out in the arcades. But this game graphically is very, very good with what it does. It's not too much colour bleed. You can choose to control either a paper boy or a paper girl, which is a nice addition as well. The Amiga version, which I didn't like, it was all in one stage with a crossover point, because in this, as opposed to the original, you deliver papers on one side of the street and then deliver papers on the second side of the street. Here it loads it up slightly separate. Still within the game, you don't have to like load the tape or anything like that. But the speed's a bit missing for me, and I was a bit uninspired. I like to be close to the action. This is a little bit far away, but graphically better than the original Paperboy, but overall I think it's a little bit lacking. But fun nevertheless for a little bit of time there. And in 4th place, speeding along on the Commodore Amiga, we've got Cool Spot, published by Virgin Interactive in 1993. This game also came out on the Mega Drive, I believe, and I think that version is slightly quicker. This one's got a few frames missing, it seems, but it's okay. It won't go down as one of my favourite platformers. Cool Spot is a logo representing 7-Up, so they're always trying to sell something. Now, there's a lot of platformer games on the Amiga where they're trying to sell things, most notably Zool and Zool 2, where they're trying to sell Chuppa sweets, so it's a dentist's dream to get in new business. Super Frog as well, someone told me they're advertising Lucasade. What's going on there then? Get the kids in on the platformers, then rot their teeth. Ha 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 ha. There's some evil at work. But Cool Spot itself, the second level, first level's a bit slow, second level's quite good graphically. It's okay, it does the job. Cool Spot fires soda bubbles, destroys enemies, which is quite novel. So it's an okay game, it's okay without being spectacular, so that puts it into 4th place. So 6th place this time is Pinball Power on the ZX Spectrum by Mastertronic in 1989. 5th place Paperboy 2 by Mindscape International in 1992. And in 4th place Cool Spot on the Commodore Amiga by Virgin Interactive in 1993. Now, as always, if you disagree with this order I put the games in, you're more than welcome to put your order below. It's all about different opinions. And a lot of these things really depend on your nostalgia. It has a big boost to certain games. If you play something as a kid or something similar, it brings up memories as well. So yeah, I mean, as I say, if you want to put your comments down there, then you're more than welcome. That's fine. There's no right or wrong. It's just on your experiences. And no more can be said for this game I got in 3rd place, because a lot of people might have this in 1st place depending on their experiences there, but I've come to it a bit late. It's Match Day on the ZX Spectrum 48K, published by Ocean Software in 1984. Great music at the start. It plays the Match of the Day theme tune in a way. The gameplay is a little bit slow, but ZX Spectrum 48K football games, it's always going to struggle a little bit. It's quite comical. At one point I scored from a throw-in, which is a bit strange, so I just basically threw it in the net. Colours clash a little bit, but what's clever with this game is you've got a choice of colours and different teams. People will give me a few tips in the comments section, and I love that when that's happened, because sometimes I don't get the best out of the game, so it's good to know before I do the roundup. I was trying maybe to dribble a bit too much in this game, and that's impossible to do. You get tackled quite a lot. Apparently, if you stop with the ball and do just pass while standing still, it does a low pass, and then you can get some passing together and open up the goal there. So with that in mind, I'll probably go back on my own time and do a lot better. So Match Day, quite a nice game. It's got a couple of sequels, International Match Day and Match Day 2, which I'm sure we'll come to at some point. 1984, that one. And in second place this time is Batman territory, Batman Vengeance on the Game Boy Advance, published by Ubisoft in 2001. Not quite as good as Batman Begins that I reviewed a few weeks ago, but still pretty cool. This is based on the animated series of Batman rather than any films. I much prefer the platform elements of this because it gives you various different modes of gameplay. First level is platform. And then it mixes it about a bit. There's puzzle stages, race stages, look a bit like Spy Hunter. Spy Hunter on the Game Boy Advance wasn't very good, so this is better than that. And the other one is sort of like what I would say an R-typey sort of game where you're controlling the Batcopter above Gotham City, trying to avoid things shooting at you. It's good with if you look up the codes, the passwords to go to different levels are not that cryptic. That's like names of the characters in Batman, like Nigma's one of them and Kyle. But yeah, I mean, it's better if you play it with the codes on. The puzzle games I weren't too good at, where you have to control Robin. Couldn't work out what was going on there. But great sounds, and it gave me a chance to do some of my impressions of Batman. So that's why I liked enjoying it, and it's great fun. So if you've got a Game Boy Advance, and you can find Batman Vengeance cheap enough, or even if you've got an emulator, I recommend downloading that or obtaining that game. In first place this time, it's heavily influenced by Speedball and Speedball 2. It's a violent game, much more violent than those two. On the Commodore Amiga, it's Brutal Sports Series Football, published by Millennium in 1993. So I don't know how many this sold, and maybe it's a few years late to really cash in on the success of Speedball and Speedball 2. But it's much more violent. Now, why Speedball 2 is a top-down game, this is like a sideways view. And you must score goals by bashing into your opponents. You can pick up weapons on the pitch like saws to decapitate your opponents and wear them down. Stamp on them till they're dead. And after each, it's like a league-based thing. And at the end of each time, you if you've got enough money, of course, you can repair your players for the next game. Great crunching sounds on this. Some of them sound very similar to Speedball 2, so then they're directly lifted off that. But it's great fun. The more you play that, the more you can upgrade your players. So Brutal Sports Series Football is a great game. I didn't have it back in the day, but if I played it a lot, I'll probably like it just as much as Speedball 2. And that's a proud boast. So, you know, with that sort of thing as a comment, then it's got to be number one. So in third place this time was A Match Day on the ZX Spectrum by Ocean Software in 1984. Second place, Batman Vengeance by Ubisoft in 2001 on the Game Boy Advance or GBA. And in first place, Brutal Sports Series Football by Millennium in 1993. If you missed any of those reviews and want to watch them, then click on these links or search them out in my most recent reviews. Put a comment there. Quite often I will always, quite often I will answer, more often than not. Probably about 99% of the time, unless I can't think of an answer or I don't understand the comment there. So my favourite for me really was Kickoff Revival. That was much better than I thought it was going to be. So well done to Dino Dini. And until next time then, videos will be going out over the weekend as they are every day. Until next time, take care of yourself, have a great weekend and a very fun goodbye.
Goodbye.